World War II ended, the world believed it would finally enter a period of stability. Unfortunately, the Earth was not designed to remain at peace. The Soviet Union and the United States, who had been allies during the war, suddenly became adversaries. Each side soon discovered that the other would oppose its interests and ideology. What ensued was a war fought not with conventional weapons, tanks, missiles, soldiers, or battles, but with intelligence and strategy. A war of espionage known as the Cold War. In this hidden conflict, no one truly knew all the details. Brains replaced bullets, and battlefields transformed into stages for spying and manipulation. The story begins after World War II when the Soviet Union took control of West Berlin. The Soviet Red Army imposed a blockade on the city, cutting off rail lines, roads, and waterways, which plunged West Berlin into severe economic decline and isolated it from its allies, the United States, Great Britain, and France. Stalin learned through Russian intelligence that America would be unable to take decisive action regarding West Berlin. He exploited this vulnerability to seize control of the city, intending to make it the capital of communist thought in Germany. Knowing that America could not risk igniting a Third World War and still recovering from the enormous cost of World War II, the United States refrained from launching new military campaigns against the Soviet Union. Instead, it established the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. The CIA's first mission was to verify that Russia had no intention of waging war, while its primary role remained monitoring Soviet expansion. With the CIA's help, America succeeded in supplying West Berlin through the largest airlift in history. 200,000 aircraft delivered essential provisions such as food, fuel, and medicine to the city's residents over the course of an entire year. This achievement marked the first significant intelligence victory for the United States over the Soviet Union's KGB. And from that point, the war between America and the Soviet Union truly began. A conflict that would come to be known as the Cold War or the War of Spies. Information was the primary weapon in this conflict, and both sides strove to outdo each other by gathering intelligence. The KGB's objectives were to protect the Soviet communist regime, prevent any Western interference that might destabilize it, and suppress any opposition, both domestic and foreign. Most importantly, the KGB aimed to spread communism throughout the world and expand the Soviet sphere of influence. In contrast, the CIA's main goal was to halt the spread of communism by supporting opposition movements, even those that were undemocratic, and to safeguard American interests while ensuring U.S. political and economic dominance. As mentioned earlier, the KGB predated the CIA by many years. It had built an enormous network of spies throughout Europe, Asia, and even within the United States, penetrating governments, scientific institutions, and military organizations. Moreover, the KGB placed a heavy emphasis on psychological warfare, disseminating false news and anti-capitalist propaganda to incite people to rebel against Western regimes. This incitement led to chaos in many countries and spurred revolutionary movements, advocating communism in developing regions like Latin America and Africa, all of which the KGB actively supported. In addition, KGB operatives carried out extensive covert operations and systematically eliminated political opponents of the communist system worldwide. In response, the CIA largely directed its actions against the KGB. It began by funding insurgents and anti-communist opposition in countries such as Afghanistan, Angola, and Cuba. The CIA even supported coups in nations aligned with the Soviet Union in a bid to expose the KGB's secrets. One of the most notorious KGB operations during the Cold War was the theft of secrets from the Manhattan Project in the 1950s. The Manhattan Project, which aimed to develop the nuclear bomb, was infiltrated by Soviet spies who gathered critical information, enabling the rapid development of the Soviet nuclear program. Other notable KGB operations included establishing an intelligence network in Cuba to secure the island after Fidel Castro's revolution. The KGB carried out an operation known as Operation Kamikaze, inflicting significant damage on the United States and Great Britain by transmitting highly sensitive information. The KGB's activities even extended to stealing Western technology, pilfering designs for American fighter jets, ballistic missiles, and space program details. Meanwhile, the CIA embarked on its own series of major espionage missions during the Cold War. One famous operation was Operation Cyclone, in which the CIA funneled approximately $3 billion in funding, weapons, and missiles to the Afghan Mujahideen fighting the Soviet Union. This operation inflicted substantial losses on the Soviet military. Another high-profile mission was Operation Ajax in Iran, during which the CIA bribed Iranian officers to incite chaos against President Mohammad Mossadegh. The operation aimed to restore Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi to power, a move that sparked a controversy between America and Iran that persists even today. Despite the CIA's efforts, the seasoned expertise of KGB operatives significantly influenced the outcome of many espionage battles. For example, when CIA agents attempted to assassinate Cuban leader Castro, they failed repeatedly because the KGB was always one step ahead with advanced knowledge of the plots. Although the espionage war between the two sides was fiercely contested, with a slight advantage for the Soviet Union and the KGB, the Soviet system eventually began to crumble from within. The enormous financial burden of supporting the KGB to counter external opposition compounded by internal economic collapse led to the disintegration of the Soviet Union, especially following the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the successive collapse of Eastern European communist regimes. In 1991, the Soviet Union ultimately dissolved, effectively ending the era of the KGB. At the same time, American dominance grew and the United States emerged as the world's foremost superpower. The CIA gradually shifted its focus toward combating jihadist movements in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. Although the overt espionage war of the Cold War eventually subsided, it never officially ended. Behind the scenes, Russia continues to conduct complex espionage operations, cyber intrusions, and electronic attacks, including interference in the 2016 U.S. elections. While the United States and the CIA still manage global intelligence activities in Russia and China, the Cold War transformed the nature of intelligence from simple spying into a massive conflict with advanced methods and sophisticated surveillance technology. It also had a profound impact on public fear, particularly after the advent of nuclear weapons. Countries began constructing nuclear shelters, and nations around the world built up nuclear arsenals to protect themselves from potential attacks. Of course, the primary beneficiary of the espionage war was America, which from that time onward assumed the role of global policeman, intervening around the world under the banner of protecting democracy and combating terrorism. This brings us to the end of our video. If you'd like to learn more about the espionage operations carried out between the KGB and the CIA, stay tuned for our next video, where we will delve deeper into the greatest secrets of the War of Spies. For a more comprehensive look at the KGB's history, from its inception to its downfall, you'll find a detailed video linked in the description. Don't forget to support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel so you won't miss any of our upcoming content. Peace.